A big focus of the 2022 season for the Minnesota Twins is going to be on how young guys come up, how rookies come up and perform and contribute to this team, and how they pave a path forward for the Minnesota Twins. But there's one guy who's already paving that path that I want to discuss today. And I haven't talked much about the bullpen, so I figured this would make a lot of sense too. So let's talk about Jorge Alcala. So Jorge Alcala, of course, one of the big pieces that came over in the Ryan Presley trade initially from Houston. And, originally a starting pitcher, has found the major leagues in the bullpen. That's kind of a worthy thing just to jump off right off the bat, because we're probably going to see that same thing happen, unfortunately, to some of these starting pitchers that we're excited about in the minor leagues right now. Not everybody's going to make it as a rotation piece. Some of these guys are going to find their way into the bullpen. But you know what? These days, obviously there's a bigger impact made on the rotation still with how many innings they cover compared to relievers, but you still need a great bullpen. You still need relief pitchers. So as long as you are getting development somewhere is the key. You don't want guys to completely fizzle out. And we're seeing Alcala kind of find himself in the bullpen. You look at his numbers right away and they don't stand out in particular. But we're going to talk about in a sec his evolution throughout the year. And one of the things that was bumming me out early on, with the Twins early in 2021, it was clear that they just weren't going to have it, that it was going to be a bad season. And unfortunately, that coincided with guys like Alcala also not showing that there was not showing the signs for the future that we would have wanted. So it was sort of a double gut punch there. But this guy got things turned around. This guy started to figure some stuff out at the end of the year. And in early August, I actually recorded a video that was basically saying, is this happening? Is Jorge Alcala happening? And for the last 2 months of the season, he answered a resounding yes. So here we're looking at Alcala's first and second half splits here on Baseball Reference. And as you can see, again, a 4.67 ERA in the first half. That's just not very encouraging. Although some of the other numbers did look better. The whip wasn't bad at all by any means, but he wasn't getting that many strikeouts even, especially for a reliever. A solid but unspectacular strikeout to walk ratio in the first half. And then as we see here in the second half, really turned it on, a 2.88 ERA, a sub of well under 1 whip, 0.88 there, and striking out 10.8 batters per nine with a 6 strikeout to walk ratio. And if we climb up here, you can see there's some even more encouraging numbers with that first half, second half split, just in the batting against. So the biggest thing in the first half that was a problem, he gave up 9 home runs in just 135 plate appearances. So opposing hitters had a 455 slugging against him. And, that's just not going to work out. So he managed to avoid a lot of damage in the second half, comparatively speaking, dropping that all the way down to 2.76 slugging percentage. And you can see the dramatic impact that had on his OPS against, the batting average and the OBP were both pretty solid in the first half. He was just giving up some more damage on the home runs than you would like to see, and kind of cleaned up a little bit on the strikeout to walk ratio, but definitely started to miss barrels more often. So that was a huge, you can see even though the BABIP went up slightly, still improved there. So, especially with relievers, when we talk about like a first, second half split, we're talking about such small sample sizes here, but still very encouraging to see out of Alcala. So obviously that's great that he improved from the first half to the second half, but when we look at how he stacks up against other relievers in the second half across baseball, that's when things get really encouraging. We're here at Fangraphs. I'm taking just a look at the qualified relievers from the second half of 2021. So again, we're really kind of slicing things down here, but Jorge Alcala was 13th in Fangraphs award in this sample. He pitched extremely well. So he was one of the better relief pitchers in baseball over this stretch. And if we go into some of the advanced metrics, so here I've got it sorted out by strikeout minus walk percentage. That's a stat that I really like for all pitchers, but particularly relievers. Jorge Alcala was 14th in the second half in that stat. As you can see, if you want to go by the per nines, 10.8 K per nine and 1.8 walks per nine. Very impressive there. In whip, walks and hits per innings pitched, Jorge Alcala 18th among all relievers, so inside of the top 20. And then in terms of FIP, Jorge Alcala was 6th with a 2.01 FIP in the second half. That's especially impressive because with those home runs that he was giving up in the first half, he had actually a very poor FIP. So to him to be, in terms of FIP, one of the better pitchers out of the bullpen in the second half, obviously strikeouts, walks, and home runs are the biggest thing that contribute to that. So he's doing a tremendous job at those stats. And then sorting out by xFIP, Jorge Alcala 7th among the relievers in the second half. And then in Sierra in the second half, Jorge Alcala also in the top 10. So even if you don't know a whole lot about those numbers, basically Jorge Alcala was one of the better relievers in baseball in the second half. And this sample that we're looking at includes 170 relievers. So for him to show up this high in all these metrics obviously is a very good sign. And shifting gears a bit here to Baseball Savant, just want to quick show his Savant sliders here. Obviously a lot of red. You expect that out of relief pitchers. Most relievers should be looking very good on these sliders. The only real concern, barrel percentage and X slug for him. But a big reason why we're here at Baseball Savant is I want to take a look at his pitch percentage and show you something here. And, this is by season, and he didn't pitch a whole lot in 2019, so take that with a grain of salt. But as you can see, from 2020 to 2021, he did throw his four-seamer less and his changeup more. But if we break this down by the months of the 2021 season, you can really get a look at the dramatic difference from the first half to the second half for him. So I'm going to change these parameters on this graph. So we have pitch percentage by month, and this is only in the 2021 season. So you can see his four-seam fastball, which he throws hard. He's a hard-throwing guy. So you could see why maybe, you'd want to be trying to throw his fastball around half or over half of the time. But as we can see, that success that he had in the second half kind of coincides with him throwing his four-seam fastball much less. Look at the dramatic drop in this chart of four-seam fastball percentage. And the slider, he was always throwing that quite a bit, but that certainly did go up as well. No doubt about it. He was throwing his slider more, but really the changeup is the pitch that increases in usage as time goes on in particular. And then he's mixing in at least what Savant is categorizing as a sinker some more. So giving some looks. You don't see, again, this guy was a former starting pitcher in the minor leagues. You don't see a ton of relief pitchers using four pitches. I think it can be kind of challenging to stay crisp with your repertoire using that many pitches and throwing that infrequently as a reliever. So maybe that's a challenge that a lot of guys face, but Alcala seemed to figure it out, and this mix seemed to really boost his performance in the second half. And, it's a cat and mouse game. So now that he's adjusted, the league's probably going to try to adjust back if he keeps this up next year, which is always the fun part. And always the challenge with these guys in breaking into the major leagues, figuring out who they are, and then you almost have to readjust at that point. So I'm very hopeful, very encouraged by that second half performance by Jorge Alcala. And, just from beyond a Twins fan perspective, if you're somebody who's gearing up for the fantasy baseball season, this is a name to keep in your back pocket. Maybe, especially if you're in shallower leagues, not a guy you're going to be going out there drafting, but put him on your watch list. Taylor Rogers is expected to be the Twins closer this year, and he only has one more year of team control. There's a great chance that, he could get traded at the deadline. Who knows? So Jorge Alcala, it wouldn't shock me if he's fantasy relevant this season and potentially closing out ball games for the Twins. So let me know what you think about Jorge Alcala. Thanks so much for checking out this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and consider subscribing for more Twins talk here on YouTube. Thank you.